Well, good morning and welcome to this episode of The Insider. I am so excited to have Kim Capps, Chief Operations Officer of Southern Bank, with us today. You guys are in for a treat. A little bit about Southern Bank before we get started. Southern Bank currently is headquartered just down the road from Invo Solutions headquarters, which is awesome, in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Nice to actually share the same state today with a guest, which is a rarity for us. They currently operate over 60 offices across Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, and Illinois, and continue to grow. Have just surpassed a little over 700 employees within their organization, and they are also, one of the things I like the most, is very early adopters of video banking strategies across both retail and other areas of the bank, which we'll get into during our time together. But a little bit about Kim. So Kim has been serving the Southern Bank organization for almost 30 years, and during that time, she has had an opportunity to oversee operations, marketing, training, as well as overseeing countless technology deployments during her illustrious career. Kim continues to also be heavily involved in the communities that they operate and takes great pride in that service, and I think that's fantastic. The best part is she's going to be able to tell us a lot more than what I was able to share in just a brief opening. So with that being said, I would like to welcome Kim to the podcast today. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, Jake. We're doing good. I don't know. I need to pay you or send you muffins or something for that opening. I appreciate that very much. It's very flattering. Like I said, I'll send you some muffins later.
Will work. I will work for food. Yep. And I'm very blessed to have two daughters that love to spend time in the kitchen. And let's just say I have to make sure that I'm still exercising regularly because of that fact too. So, but I'll take all the muffins you want to send to Springfield. I'll take it. Kim, why don't we just get things started by giving you a chance to expand a little bit on your illustrious career. And what I mean by that is I would love for you to share as much as you would like. And we've had some guests that have literally went back to, I grew up in this small town and attended this school and found my way through to this career path. I want you to share your story in whatever way that you're comfortable so that our guest today can learn a little bit more about who Kim Capps is.
Well, I guess I could start back in 1887. No, I'm just teasing. That's when the bank was founded as a savings and loan. I'm going to start back.
I was going to say, you look fantastic. I had no idea how fantastic you looked. 1887. Wow.
If you can't have a little laughter in life, we're not there. But,
Amen.
I started a banking career back in 1986 when I was in college, and I was very well served by the bank that I used. It was actually an S&L, and they found it very good to send me to all different departments. So I know a little bit about all departments. And then coming to work in 1994 to Southern Bank and going from just the controller to the CFO / COO position, then into the COO position, we saw the bank grow from $150 million to $4.4 billion. We're really proud of our efficiency ratio, and I think a lot of things that I'm involved in, not the only person doing them, but what I'm involved in helps keep that efficiency ratio down, and that's what I'm proud of the most, and to be innovative.
Yeah, well, you've definitely been innovative as long as I have known you, which I was trying to think about this the other day. I think the first time I met you was about 15 years ago, which, as my kids will tell me, is almost in the 1900s, which I don't know how to feel about that, but I think it's rude. Ryan says that too, our creative manager, is honoring these youngsters around here. I think about, though, your career path, and you got into the game early. What, if you can think back to that time in college when you decided to take that direction into the financial industry, what was it that drew you to that? Or can you remember, what was it, the spark that really was like, hey, you know what? I think going into banking and the financial industry is what I want to do with my career.
Well, I really wanted to be in accounting. So I went to school for college to have an accounting degree, got an accounting degree while I was working in the banking industry. And then I was hired by a local CPA firm here in Poplar Bluff to do financial auditing. So that took me a career from knowing what a deposit was, or a credit in the banking world, and a debit, which is completely opposite of what it is in the accounting field. But it gave me that expertise by the experience I had during college. So then the CPA firm hired me to do financial auditing, and I got my career there. And then once I got into that career, I actually, a little human story to me, I met my husband, and he was at another accounting firm, so I needed to make a change, so you can't be in two accounting firms. You wouldn't be able to talk all day long because you'd be afraid to divulge secrets. So then I moved to Southern Bank at that point in time, and again, it was 150 million, and we've grown to where we are today. So that's kind of how I ended up in the banking industry. Why do I stay in the banking industry, you might ask? Well, it's serving the people. It's become the partnership. It's the leaders in the community. It's who gives back to the community. Banking is not just banking. Banking is the heart of the community. I really believe that a bank keeps a community alive.
Oh, I think that's so good. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, especially when I think about how much this industry has changed over the last few decades. And really, that's been the heart of your career during the time of the industry evolution. But the community bank has always been that heartbeat of that community. And I think that when you see organizations grow and continue to take on more and more, it's really easy to lose sight of that. If you're using that compass, to point towards the customer, to lose sight of where north is. And I think Southern Bank has done a really good job of keeping that focus. Well, so why don't we just stay right there for a second? Tell those of our guests here, the insiders that may not know about Southern Bank, a little bit about the history of Southern Bank. What makes the Southern Bank specifically maybe unique within the industry, or just unique as an organization in the markets that you guys serve?
Since we've been around a long time, our executive leadership team has been around. Most of us been in banking a long time, and I think that is what makes us a little unique. The executive team's been around. The other thing is that we're not saying that today is the way we're going to do banking tomorrow, or we're not sitting there saying, well, we did this 5 years ago and we did it this way and this is what we got to do. The whole team doesn't think that way. We're looking to see, how do we bank today? It's the right way today, but in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, it's going to be the wrong way. And I think as long as we keep that in sight, that's what makes us unique. There's so many people I talk to when I go out to different seminars or different speaking places, and they say, oh, well, we've been doing it this way for 10 years. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do the next 10 years? And they said, well, we're going to continue doing what we're doing. And I said, and quietly to myself, I'm like, well, you won't be here. Yeah. Because how you do it today is not. You're not going to be here. You can't do it that way. So I think that's what makes us unique. Another thing that makes us unique is we're not afraid to expand. We've done numerous acquisitions over the last, since 2010. And those acquisitions has made us look into different avenues, different products, different services for our customer. And we're not afraid of that challenge. We want to grow, and our whole team wants to grow. It's not just one person says we're going to grow. We're all in, and that's what makes us unique.
Yeah,
I'm going to say one more thing because I might get in trouble if someone's listening to this. It's not only our executive team; it's our admin managers, which is the next level of managers. They're all that way too. They embrace change, and they push that all the way down to all of our personnel, all of our team members, and it's not we've done this for 10 years and we're going to stay doing this. It's, okay, we see this, we need to change. So it's not just executives. I don't want to push that off, that it's just us. It's the whole team, the whole bank.
Sure. Well, I love that, though, and that speaks so much to where your heart really operates, in the fact that you would stop just to recognize that. And I think that a lot of times that's just implied, but I think about how you guys have been able to do what you have done. And even in the time that I've been able to have a purview of Southern Bank over the last decade and a half, which has still seen significant growth during that time frame. But it does start, let's just to be fair, and I'll make this comment, and you don't have to make this comment, but it does start with the executive team. And I think an executive team has to have a very clear strategic vision of where the organization is going, how the organization is going to get there, and then not lose sight of what are the core values, what is the mission statement of Southern Bank, what are our goals going to be over the next 12, 24, 36 months, and then beyond. and then having those things established, but that's only part of it, and that's what you're saying, because then it has to be disseminated, and then everyone has to understand that direction that you guys are running, and you're running in the same direction. And then when that buy-in exists and everyone can be a cheerleader for that strategy, that's when the success comes. Because when it's, in my opinion, what I've seen is there could be great leadership with great vision, but if it becomes fractured and not everyone is on board, well, then it's really not a good strategy at all, because a great strategy poorly executed goes nowhere. So I think that is a testament to what you just said. And so I love the fact that you're bringing attention to the fact that there's a lot of people that play a role in that success. So kudos to everyone that is in with Southern Bank. You think about these markets you've grown into. I mean, talking about growth, you've entered a lot of new markets over that time period. And so I'm always curious, like, when you think about Southern Bank operating, and every market is highly competitive, right? So what do you think it is that helps Southern Bank to differentiate themselves and you to differentiate yourself in these new markets you're going into, as well as continue to be relevant and competitive in the markets that you guys have been serving in the past?
Well, you can't get away from, we call our employees team members. So when I say team members, that's what I'm referring to, just for clarity purposes. I think a success is the vision that we give our team members. You know, we buy a acquisition, or we have an acquisition or a merger, whichever one you want to call it. And the team members have to understand that we're here. We're not here to close you down. We're here. We bought you or merged with you because we want to be here. And we, you know, in any acquisition, there might be a hiccup or two, but stay along with us and we'll get you there. And we're a bank to stay. But prior to COVID, you know, we had a long history of people being here, and still do. The people that's been around, again, you know, me being here almost 30 years, my team that I have, you know, all 10, 15 years, most of them have been around with me or longer. Maybe one or two not so long, but most of them a lot longer than that. And I think that says a lot about our bank. And when other people that we have merged with see that we have history and that we're willing to change, because, you know, anytime we expand into, you know, we had an acquisition in the St. Louis market and in the Kansas City market in the last 24 months, you know, if we saw something that they were doing, we didn't say, oh, no, we're not going to do it that way. We embrace that idea. And I think that's where we get from. That's what makes us better. And when a customer comes in and they feel the smoothness or no anxiety from a team member, I think that's what sets us apart. And then we want the partnership relationship. We want to embrace the customer and serve them the best we can, and the products that they need. And we're out there looking for products every day to help that customer along. We may not have it today, but that doesn't say we won't go out and look. So I think that's what makes us a little different when we enter a market, and our ideas aren't stale, and we're willing to look into new ideas.
I love that. I think that's a great line. And you think about just strategy in general, your willingness or even admission that, hey, we're not going to be stale. Because in this time, I've never seen technology and the delivery of products and services change as rapidly as they are right now. And I had this conversation with a banker just last week about how, you know, basically the industry as a whole, banking, has not significantly changed. Like we're still doing most of the same things, but how we're doing them is significantly changing at such a rapid pace. And I mean, if we're leaving regulation and everything else out of the conversation, obviously, but you think about, we're still opening accounts, we're still loaning money. The way that we're doing those things, though, is considerably different today than it was before. And I think that's a challenge, you know, when an organization grows like Southern Bank has. I like what you said there about going in through an acquisition or a merger, and then also finding out what's working there. Like, is what they're doing maybe better? Being willing to be observant of that and roll that in, but not lose sight of the culture and the strategies that have made you guys successful. I think those are important. Kind of building off of that, there's a conversation that we have internally, and it's really born out of this idea that, you know, touch points for customers continue to evolve, and customer service continues to be a thread that runs through all of those. What is your take or opinion on the way that customer service is affected when you bring in new channels, such as new branches that might be opening, new branch designs, services that might be in branch, bridging that to your website in the mobile channel, taking that out to the ITM, and we can get into that conversation. I know Southern Bank was a pioneer of rolling out the interactive teller machine in the Midwest. What's your opinion, and why do you think that you guys have been so successful in not losing sight of that very important variable of customer service across all physical and digital channels, Kim?
I think our digital transformation is ongoing. It's never going to stop. It it just isn't. But I think when you service a customer, and what we do well is we have a mixture, and we know a mixture has to be there. Age demographics takes a big part in that mixture. If you're in the city, you may not see customers near as much, but then when customer needs to come to the branch, we're there. But you can't have a branch that just sits there waiting on that customer to come in because they've opened the account online and they're using all your chat bots and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's what we do well. We have a mixture. We're there, but then using technology, it allows us to keep a branch open, that we don't have to have 5 or 6 people at the branch to service everything. And I think that when we realize that, and when our team members realize that we have to have a little bit of both, that's what makes our technology and the mixture work. Because it's not like we're saying, okay, we're going to put this technology in because we want to cut staff, become more efficient. No, we may put the technology in to service the customer a lot better, and it gives our staff, our team members, a chance to become more knowledgeable in different areas. And what I mean by that is a teller in 1980 was a teller, and even in the 90s, the early 2000s, they were just a teller, and a new account person was just a new account person. Well, now with technology, you can make that a personal banker, or we call them personal bankers, and you can make that personal banker, which they're going to know both, or they might know a little bit about lending, or they might know a little bit about this or that, and that knowledge is good, which requires them to make a little more money than just a normal teller. So it's a good thing for them, and I think that's what we're doing. We're trying to teach people that technology is not a way to take away a human. A technology is only better to serve our customers and better to make them more valuable. And even in the back office, we use some digital. We don't want to say, hey, we don't want you to have a job, but when you look at manual entry, manual entry has a certain dollar amount, right? A certain pay scale. And then analytics has a different pay scale. So the person that was doing nothing but manual entry and a little bit of analytics, hey, let's get rid of the manual stuff and make you all analytic. That means your job is more valuable. It's, we can increase this pay scale. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And that's how to be successful. It's all how do you implement and make it work. And I don't know if that really answered that question. I kind of went out on a limb there. So
no, you did exactly what I was hoping, is just get a little bit more of where your heart's at on that. I think about the way that you have been successful, and you articulated very well about when you bring in new technology, it really does affect those two areas, right? Which is the customer side of things and then the employee side of things, right? So there's two experiences there that you're trying to navigate and find success in simultaneously, which is very difficult. And I think that for me, it's how you guys have been so successful of being able to convey to the customer that you're deploying this technology, whether it is that interactive teller machine outside the branch instead of a pneumatic tube, or maybe off-site instead of just a drive-up ATM, that it's not to remove that human element or to push a wedge between you and the customer, but it's actually to bring them closer and to find better efficiency and to put your people in front of them. Let's just sit there for a second. How has the customer base of Southern Bank responded as you've taken and deployed new technologies, changed delivery channels that maybe have been, one way traditionally for a long time, and now you're moving them into a new digital strategy? Tell me a little bit about, I guess, what you're willing to share, What was the response to some of those, as much as you want to get into? And then also, how did you go before deployment to make sure that the customers were ready or educated and willing to adopt those things?
Yeah. Well, I'll give an example of ITM machines, integrated teller machines. We put them in 2016 only in the drive-through. We taught our customers that, hey, use this machine and see what it's like. Don't be afraid of it. We are not self-serve yet, so we're just actually using the video teller through the ITM. So we had people stand outside and say, hey, come use this, try this. Here's a candy bar for using it. We would have customers that said, this is easy, we'll use it again. And then we would have customers that says, I hate it, I'm not going to use it again. But that customer that said, thanks for the candy bar, I'm not going to use it again, also was a customer that realized that I don't have to wait till 8 o'clock when the bank opens. If I'm leaving town at 7, I can run by the bank at 7:05 and get my deposit in and make a cash withdrawal or do whatever I needed to do through the ITM machine and leave town. So it changes. It just changes on what the behavior that they need. And when the customer is out there, and I'll give you another example of an ITM. We have ITM people that are ITM customers that say, oh, we're not going to use it again. But then when they have ice or snow and we don't want to risk the lives of our team members to come in at 8 o'clock, they can go buy that ITM, because our ITM people, you may laugh at this, but our team people stay here overnight. If Papa Bluff is going to get snow, they stay here at the branch or headquarters. And so we're ready, because we may get ice in people in Cabot, Arkansas, or in Springfield. You may not have anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But we want to service you. And that same way, if Springfield is covered in ice, we want to be able to service a customer that may have to get out. Let's say you have a highway department person that needs it and they need cash. Well, we want to be able to service them, and they don't have a debit card or can't find it. Well, we can do that. And we don't have to, the life of our team members is important. They don't have to be there right at 8 o'clock. So those are both positives for the customer and positives for our personnel too, or our team members, because they realize that we can better service our customer. So those are.
And I love that because
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Kim. No, I was so excited to say good job. I cut you off.
You're fine. Those are just some good things about video banking through ITM and the success we've had. I can't sit here and tell you that every person that went through it at first liked it. No. They got the candy bar and took it, but eventually they realize the importance of it and the quickness of it. If they go through another branch, it takes them a long time. It takes time for that personal banker to count out the cash 2 or 3 times before they put it in the envelope. Well, it doesn't take that machine 2 or 3 times. It just spits it out. So to be successful, I think you have to show the customer and be passionate with them and know that this is the technology today, and it's going to be here. It's not going to go away.
No, it's true. Yeah, and I can attest to that statement that you made. I still recall many years ago, and it would have been that initial deployment. And did you say 2016?
Yes.
That's when it was. Okay. So I still remember when you went live for the first location in the Springfield, Missouri market. And I actually had an opportunity to go by that branch because you were the first organization in the Springfield area to deploy it. And if I recall correctly, it was early in the morning, and even one of the local news channels came out and did so I remember that. But it was amazing. I was actually in the lobby with the branch manager just talking about the strategy, and there was someone who came inside that was that person who probably always came inside, and you guys had done such a good job at training the retail staff that the teller actually asked the customer, hey, did you hear we've now activated our interactive teller machines? Have you used it yet? And of course the individual hadn't, and so they said, hey, would you be willing to give it a try? And they said yes, and that teller came out from behind the teller line with that customer, went out the side door of the branch, and walked outside to the drive up, and they stood outside and used that ITM together. And I remember just thinking to myself, how well as an organization you guys had trained the staff before you even turned it on, because people were ready to communicate it proactively, ask, hey, have you used it yet? And obviously that day the answer was going to be no for 100% of the customers, right? And did every customer go outside? No, but for everyone that did, it was a win for sure. And I remember going back a few weeks later and then inquiring, hey, how are things going now? And the statistics of 8 or 9 out of 10 people that were onboarded that way with a hands-on experience came back and used it again and just drove up to it next time. Didn't even come inside. So behaviors were shifting. Adoption was rapidly accelerated, I think, because of the strategies that you at Southern Bank had put together to deploy something new. And so this is, I guess, an opportunity to say good job many years later, but it was definitely successful. It was.
I think,
and it continues to be.
yeah, technology just allows us to service our customer a little longer during the day too. So we saw big shifts in customers coming in that would make a mad dash at 5 o'clock because, the bank's going to close at 5:30, or if they closed at 5, a mad dash in before 5 o'clock. And now they don't have to do that. They know they got till 7. So if they want to go pick their kids up or go to the grocery store and then come to the bank, they can do all that, because we're open extended hours.
That's a great point. And that's something that probably a lot of our guests aren't aware of. And that is the fact that you have changed your operational capacities with this. So, but you didn't do that out of the gate, correct?
No, we kept all of the hours of the branches the same. We launched our ITM 7 to 7 Monday through Friday and 7 to 3 on Saturday. And we are actually open on all holidays except for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So New Year's Day, you can come through and do a transaction. Labor Day and Memorial Day, we service our customers. And believe it or not, there's a lot of them that come through there that are having problems that we're able to, we don't have to say, well, wait till we're open again. They want access to their money, they can have access to their money. So we've done that. But over time, people get used to going to the ITM. So people that come through the drive-through on a Saturday, the number's not there. So we have been able to close some of our branches on Saturday because they have the opportunity to go through the ITM. And our resource center, which I would say, AKA our call center, is open the same time. So if they want to talk to somebody, they can talk to somebody too. So it's not like we're leaving them out in the left field with no opportunities to do their banking because they can call us or they use ITM. So that done. Yeah. And we had some branches that were open till 6 or 6:30. Well, they don't have to be open till 6 or 6:30, which the team members love.
Sure.
They go home at 5 o'clock instead of trying to wrestle kids around to who's going to pick them up from the daycare at 5 when they got to stay till 6 or 6:30. So it was a win for our team members as well as a win for our customers.
I love that. You've talked so much about paying attention to and being observant of what the customers are looking for, or how can you serve that customer better. I just feel strongly that you've got some passionate convictions about customer service. How has the organization Southern Bank kept that as a focus during this growth time period? And maybe part B to that question is, what are your personal convictions about customer service? What is important to you? Why is it important?
Well, if we don't have a customer, we're not going to be here tomorrow, and the customer now is being bombarded with numerous ways of bank, with the fintech partnerships that are out there, the fintechs that are growing. You got Venmo, that's backed by other banks, but Venmo, PayPal, you got Walmart entering the P2P range or the B2B, and all these different things are pulling on our customers. And if we don't address our customer and make them feel at home and get them surrounded by our products and tell them that we understand them and we're here, when you get married, that we're here for you. We can do what you need. When you have your first child, or when you retire, when you get married, we're going to be here for you. A lot of the fintechs can't say that, or you can't call up Venmo and say, "Hey, I'm getting married. What am I supposed to do?" But,
yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's what customer service is all about, is realizing that we're here either in person or we'll answer your call. You call a branch or our resource center and say, hey, I'm getting married. What should I do? We'll get you the person that might tell you that, hey, maybe you need to look into life insurance. You have your first
Mm.
child, maybe they need life insurance. So that is what we as a financial institution have to do better in order to stay in the business. Because I think the fintech is the biggest threat and regulation to the banking world right now. And coming back from some seminars and some meetings over the last month, it's a big threat.
Boy, being aware of those things, I think, is also important. And it's a comment you made earlier. I mean, harken back to some of your feedback earlier in this conversation was not leaning into what has always traditionally worked for the last couple of decades as you guys have grown exponentially. It's about being thankful for that and learning lessons, but then being observant going into the next several years or the next decade with eyes fully open to see what's necessary. And so I think those convictions that you guys operate under are helping to ensure that. So let's talk about like what the bank's doing right now. So you've done so many wonderful, successful things. We've talked a little bit about some of the things that are out there. You have, the last time I talked to you, I think there was like 5 or 6 different projects going on simultaneously within the organization, in addition to an acquisition. So, what strategies are you as an organization currently engaged in that is specifically focused on the customer, serving the customer better?
Well, if the question is how are we engaging our customers, that's $1 million question. Or how to continue engaging our customers. That's $1 million question because our customer base changes, demographics change, Gen Zs, Gen
Mm-hmm.
Ys, whatever the generation they come up with next, they're wanting to be serviced in different ways. So we're trying to embrace all of that to the best we can. And as far
Mm-hmm.
as technology goes, what we're doing is we're looking at all of our journeys and saying, hey, if they start this journey in their pajamas, sipping a glass of wine or a milk and cookies, whichever one it is, and they
Well,
start
it
it and they
depends on
get
what time of day it is.
yeah, yeah, and they get stuck. We want to be able, if they walk in the bank the next day or in the afternoon, we want to be able to pick up that journey and finish it without having to start over. I think that's what we're really
Mm.
working on and trying to focus on how that experience works. And they don't have to come in and virtually or see somebody in the seats. They might come in and see someone virtually through our video banking um, platform with Invo. So that's kind of our biggest hurdle is to review all the journeys. And it's not only, opening a new account or how do I do this? It's the whole thing. It's how do you put a stop payment on sitting in your car because you realize the check's going to come through and it's not for the right amount or whatever. It's a whole journey. It's everything. It can't just be
Mm-hmm.
focused on, oh, well, let's get the journey on opening the account right. No, it's the journey on opening a mortgage loan. It's a journey on insurance. It's a journey on investments. It's the whole game. We have to focus on all of those and use technology to help focus on those journeys.
How are you identifying how to better those journeys? When you think about like what you're doing today versus yesterday, and I mean that obviously conceptually, but when you think about what you guys are doing today and what you're even thinking about on the future roadmap, you identified all the right things, all these journeys. What is it that helps you guys to be observant and identify a better way to do it?
Um, Knowledge, not being stuck and come into the bank at 8 o'clock in the morning and leave at 5. It's
Hmm.
podcasts like this that helps find the right partnerships because I think to do any successful journey transformation, it's going to be a partnership. We can't build it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the staff to build it. I'd love to say our team members can build a journey for our customers right now. We don't have that capability. So I think
Hmm.
partnerships is a way to do it. A partnership, I'll just say it, partnership with Invo has helped us tremendously to accomplish what
Oh.
we're needing um, to help in those journeys. So it has to be partnerships with the fintech world. I think our core can help to a certain degree, but our core has to
Mm-hmm.
have open banking in order for us to
Yep.
uh, engage the fintech companies like Invo. And I think that's where it is. I mean, If you're a Wells Fargo, a Bank of America, any of those, you can do this all on your own. But
Mm.
a bank our size, even up to $10 billion or maybe even larger than that, I think you need people. You need partnerships. You have to have partnerships.
I love that perspective. Also, unsolicited plug. So Ryan, make a note. We got to send cookies or muffins to Kim now, so that we're going to reciprocate that. I haven't even got to the point where I asked for a plug. So thank you
Well,
for that.
it's all boils down to, Jake, just partnerships
For
and
sure.
sound
Yeah,
partnerships.
and I agree with that. And I think that's an important qualifying comment to that partnership. And a partnership only works if there's very clear and concise and bought in leadership and strategy, going back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, to make those things work, right? So I always, we have a lot of, I have a lot of strategic conversations with I call them future clients. So people that we're not doing business with today. And it's always like, hey, Invo Solutions, like any other software development company, or even, like your ITMs, which is hardware and software driven, are great pieces of technology, but you don't just deploy it out there and say, hey, that's going to work. There has to be so many things lined up before you get to that phase. And that's almost kind of like, okay, now we're at halftime. Right now, we got to get all the way to the end of the fourth quarter. And that's when I believe the real game starts. And that's getting that strategy deployed, but then making sure that it's successful, making sure that you're aware of what the industry is going. And my goodness, customer behaviors change like wildfire. And so actually, let's just stay right there for just a second. You think about what the last 3 years have looked like. We in Invo don't like to use the C word. COVID is a bad word. But holy cow, did that change so many things in the United States across, a broad sweep of all industries being affected. What did Southern Bank do, and what has Southern Bank continued to do since we've had this change? So I always say it's kind of a pre-2020 and then a post-2020 world. Tell me a little bit about your insights, as well as the insights of what the bank has been able to identify in being a different financial partner today than you guys were before that time.
You know, Southern Bank was focused on the customer during COVID. We and our team members, we did
Mm.
everything we could to stay open. I think we officially were told we had to close for a week. We closed. Our resource center was still on, answering questions.
Mm.
Our ITMs were working. They
Yeah.
might have been working from home, but we were able to handle the customers that way. We had people working the drive-through. Maybe had only one person, but we were there. So we were really only closed for a week. We did a lot of loan closings out on the parking lot, on the car tops, of the branch, but we got them closed. And I think that's a customer service that we had before, during, and we still have after.
Mm.
We're going to be here for you. We're not going to lock our door and run away.
Yeah.
Are we scared? Yes. Did we do things to keep our team members safe? Yes. But our team members also knew that the livelihood of Southern Bank is their customers. And what happens if they can't get their $10 or $100 or $200 in
Mm.
change? What's that customer supposed to do? You
Yeah.
know? So our team members embraced that, and they were troopers through the whole thing.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, you had so many good one-liners in there that I think are indicative of having that perspective of a good financial partner. Yeah, I love that, doing paperwork and contracts on hoods in the parking lot. You know what that sounds like to me is like old school banking. Funny how we had to go back to leaning into what does it just mean to serve a customer regardless of what it takes. The regardless of what it takes is whatever it has to be,
Yeah.
whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
So go
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say during COVID, we had digital sign. We could have signed everything digital, but there were so many customers that didn't want to do that. And then actually, I think the customer just needed to see somebody. They didn't have to get close to
Oh
them,
yeah.
but they just needed to see them. Just needed to say, "Are you here for me?" And
Yeah.
our lending staff and our frontline staff, personal bankers, our resource center, the whole bank as a whole was there to show the customer, "Hey, we're here for you. We want
Yeah.
you to feel comfortable." And we could do a lot more digital. Some we did. Some were on the hood of the car because that customer, we could feel that customer needed to see us.
So
Couldn't
good.
shake hands, but or give hugs like some of our people want to do, but they were able to at
Yeah,
least see their eye to eye. You know.
I love that. Yeah, it's so funny how we went from handshakes and hugs to what everyone literally universally adopted, the fist bump or the elbow bump.
Yeah.
Is that what they
Yeah.
call that? I don't. Yeah, I don't even know what that is. I don't know how to do that. I'm still too old school. So you think about coming out of that, where you are today. What challenges have you identified that exist in 2023 going into the next year, a couple of years, to solve for in customer service? Have you identified, hey, these are the things, these are the top three, this is the number one thing when it comes to solving for customer service that you are looking to address or really trying to develop strategies around right now, Kim?
Our biggest thing right now, and it's getting better, and that's employee retention.
Oh yeah.
2021, 22, people were working with us, making X, and down the street couldn't get anybody to come to work. Team members thought the grass was greener, so they go for 50 cents more. Well, guess what? Most of them are either within the first 6 months to a year say, hey, can we come back? Some haven't, and we miss them.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that we come back, we open arms those. Um, so I think our biggest challenge still today is employee retention, and we're working on that. We're not Amazon, we don't have the pockets of Amazon, but we're working on ways to show the team member that we love them without the hug. And stuff. And the other challenge that we see is the quickness of bringing new products or services by using fintechs to the market. The regulatory agencies are now honing in on fintech relationships. So we
Mm-hmm.
might have a great idea of Invo. Now we got to go through a few more hoops to get Invo in because the regulators, with their new um, guidance out, tells us that we got to do a little more work, and well, that little more work
Yeah.
drags out to 3 or 4 months instead of 2 months. And all we want to do is get the technology out. Understand what the regulators are doing. It just hones in and gives us a challenge. While we see the bigger fintechs, PayPal, Venmo, and all them, what are they even doing to them? I mean, you can
Yeah.
do a loan now, you can do buy now, pay later through PayPal. I mean, that's lending, and there's nobody looking at that. But
Yep.
if I loan a consumer loan and don't dot all the I's and cross all the T's, that regulator says, "Oh my God, why did you do that?"
Yeah.
And I think that's our biggest challenge today is how do we move quicker but safer in the regulatory eyes.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you that one thing that I would say is positive to that, so this is kind of a tip of the cap, if you will, is that you guys could move so much faster than those, Wells Fargo and Chase and, U.S. Bank, these super large
Yeah,
national or even
that
some
is true.
cases international players that have they're driving or they're piloting the Titanic, right? They know what's ahead. It's a lot harder to steer that ship. You guys are so much more agile and I believe responsive to identifying those things and even having the cognitive ability to see, okay, these are the influencers and impactors. So that this is, I would say, an opportunity just to say you guys are doing a fantastic job. Kim, I know you well enough to know that you've got your eyes on all of those things, and that is something that I can't say for every client that we work with. So kudos to you and the team, just for being aware of those things.
Well, if we're not aware of those things, uh, may not be here. We'll be
Yeah,
here in 5, 10 years, 15. But where will banks be in 20 years? I
yeah,
mean, if banks not asking that question now, you know, because banking today is going to be completely different in 20 years. You
yeah.
you look at that 6-year-old right now sitting in what first grade, um, yeah, or in first grade, maybe in second grade. How they going to do banking when they're 26? They might even be asking, what is a bank? Because they have all their money in Venmo, and
Oh
Venmo's
wow.
loaning the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the scary thought.
Yeah. Yeah, but where do they go to get that help when they need it? I still think that is a key
Yes,
differentiator to your point, right?
yes, it does.
Still, so much data still supports that theory. So much data still supports the belief that you shared, and that is that digital might be easy, but I mean, that is great until you have a problem or you need assistance or you need personal assistance, right?
Right.
And so that's a huge
Yeah,
differentiator.
and I believe that's why we have to, that's why I think banks have to look at what do you do to stay competitive in that.
Mm.
How we're competitive today is how we're not going to be competitive in 2 years.
Yeah. And I think that, part of that secret sauce is continuing to be relevant and local, but then also adopting new technologies that allow you to provide services that maybe that alternative only fintech only provider can do. But it's what you referenced Amazon. I mean, the stock of Walmart has grown exponentially more than Amazon, and they've gained more traction than Amazon has over the last 5 years because they had something that Amazon didn't, which was brick and mortar. So they were able to adopt digital strategies faster than Amazon was able to adopt brick and mortar strategies for retail or product return or pickup, same day service. They're getting there in some circumstances, but I saw just this week that Walmart announced veterinary services because that's something that they can bring people in. They're already selling dog food and cat food and everything else, but why not put veterinary services in there, because you can't ship that in a box to your front porch. But they said that and this is interesting, and I think about the community banking space when I heard this stat, that there's not a single person in the United States on average that most Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart.
Right.
That on average, that most Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart. And so I think about how the customer base that Southern Bank and other community banks are servicing, that the proximity to your customer is paramount for that relationship. I strongly believe that. I do. I think that's a conviction for sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I wasn't mentioning that there's not going to be a brick and mortar bank in 20 years. They're going to be, because people need that help, in-person help. They're going to want that in-person help. They're wanting to solve all problems at one time, kind of like an Amazon, but going to have brick and mortar. You're going to have both. I mean, it's going to be, like we mentioned before, it's going to be a mixture.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Well, let's kind of pivot over to how this relationship started. And the one thing I love about having a format like this is we have just as many people that are listening to this, that are not currently doing business with Invo, and they're here to learn about what you've done and how you've done it and your organizational strategies, and you've unpacked all of that for us. So let's get into a little bit about how this relationship started and why it actually started. And so I would just like to put it out on the table. I mean, what was the genesis of the idea to bring the products and services of Invo Solutions to Southern Bank that you're using, and why did you decide to do business with us?
Well, I'll give you the problem, or it really wasn't a problem. It was just a realization, is we have internal controls on opening a new account. And when you have as many branches as we have, you can't get everybody to open the account the same way. So we have some controls missing in a branch, or we didn't get all the information. And the laundry list of information that we might have been missing for some of those, we looked at Invo to open new accounts, because we have, maybe 12 people that know opening a new account inside and out, and can service a customer a lot faster and a lot more effectively. We had customers coming in and calling Greg that might have been, his friend, and said, "My goodness, it took 45 minutes to open an account," and now they're saying, "Oh, we can get it open in 15." Because the people that are opening accounts are so much more knowledgeable and quicker at what they're doing than a person that might open, 4 accounts a week, and all 4 of those accounts might be different, so they know better. So that was one reason, being efficiency of customer time, or being more effective with it, and the other is to reduce the number of items that we had to go out and review. And then ancillary on that, one of the other reasons why we went with Invo was because we had a acquisition coming up, knowing it had 14 branches. When the acquisition was announced, our staff, or our team members, started to sweat a little bit, because we run really lean in the branch environment. Who were we going to send to help train these 14 branches?
Oh yeah.
So we out of the gate in these 14 branches put our Invo, our video banking solution. So when a customer came in to one of these 14 branches and wanted to open a new account because they heard of a great account that we have, we didn't have to worry about who was opening that account. We had very seasoned people to open the account. And, they knew what a joint tenant was or a business or whatever, and we could get that account open fairly quickly. So that
Yeah.
was the second main reason why we knew we needed to put this in, and we moved pretty quickly on this, and Invo was able to adapt to that. So those are two or three reasons there why we chose to do video banking. Why did we choose Invo? Well, that question is a long relationship with Jake that I have had, and knew that he was a stand-up guy and could be trusted to put this in our house or in the bank. And not only that, Invo's commitment to being able to make changes. We have a totally
Mm.
different IT structure, IT risk tolerance, and Invo had to make a few changes. And
Yep.
they made the changes in order to, get past our IT risk that we might have. So that's a stand up to Invo, and that's the reason why we went. We knew Invo would do that for us.
I love that. And I'm gonna have to send you more cookies now
Oh
because
God,
that was
no,
more
don't.
unsolicited praise on me.
No,
So
no cookies, Jake. No. My daughter's getting married. No cookies.
okay, okay, all right, fair enough. We'll figure something out then.
That's fine.
But no, you're right. And if we're gonna be honest with each other, so you guys have been very good about pushing us to even better our platform in a very short amount of time, and I absolutely love that. And I think that's also indicative of the team here. And of course, just like we were discussing earlier, I'm just a small part of what happens here. And this team is able to listen and collect feedback from the group that we've worked with at the bank and has pushed us to further things. A lot of things, honestly, we had on the roadmap, kind of like, hey, we're going to do this, or this is something we're wanting to do. And when we entered into this relationship, you're like, yeah, we're going to do that across dozens of locations, but we need you to have it now. So, we were willing to look at that and say, okay, if you're asking for this and it's something that's important to the bank, we know in our heart that that's probably something others are wanting to have available and have access to as well. So I appreciate that feedback. So you're still, Invo is not you don't have video banking from Invo in every location yet. You guys are still phasing that in as you continue to grow. It was fun to be a part of that growth project as well into that new market for you guys. And I wonder, are there certain things that you have in place that are allowing you to measure success from those video offices as they go in, as you're deploying the strategy into branches that maybe didn't have video prior to maybe Southern Bank being in there with the previous organization, or where you're bringing video in to solve for things where maybe that was supported by people before? So I guess my real question here is, are you gathering information? Do you have benchmarks of what you deem as success though, and how maybe you're gathering feedback from your customers on that, or even just the data on the back end?
Yeah, we've only been fully live since February. One of the things that we do see is a reduction in errors, or a reduction in findings that we review every new account that's open for certain
Mm-hmm.
different check marks. And, those are went down because, again, people opening accounts know what they need to do and how to dot the I and cross the T. We are also seeing repeat customers now. We have branches that a customer has opened. Let's just say they came in and opened a checking account. Now they come in and want a CD. They bypass everybody. They don't even
Mm.
talk to anybody. They go in, they hit the button, and they say they want to talk to somebody. It may say, hey, we'll be with you in 2 minutes, and they easily um, open an account. So we're seeing that. It's not that
Yep.
they don't want to talk to the team member, because what they do is they come out from there, and then our team member chats with them a little bit, kind of like the concierge, and they give them the hospitality. And they also
Yeah.
talk to them about, hey, if you opened a checking account, which they know, they say, hey, did you sign up for online banking, or did you sign up for our um, do you know about Butler? Not sign up, but do you know about Butler? Do you know about we're going to send you messages? So the personal banker has a more of a conversation with them than a have to sell conversation, which is a little harder for some of our team members to do. So they're more conversational. So we're seeing that. Um, we see that team members that understand the philosophy that we're not taking anything away from you is really gone on. And I would predict, and I don't have anything to really say this is a correct prediction, but I really predict if you would come ask me the same question in September of next year, and we've had this deployed 18 months in some of our locations, and we went there and said, hey, we're going to take out video banking, that we would probably have a revolt. Because we've already have some branches saying, please don't take this away,
Interesting. Yeah.
because we like it. And we don't have it all the way deployed. I mean, being
Right.
real honest, Jake, it's really new to us, but we are going to have our loan officers. We have some branches that don't have a loan officer. I mean, why? It doesn't make any sense for us to
Yep.
put a loan officer there. It doesn't make
Sure.
any sense to put an investment person at each one of our locations or our insurance people. But we are going to roll that out over the next 6 to 12 months in each one of those departments. So they have the opportunity, if you're in a real rural area, we have a branch there. Well, you need to talk to an investment person. We're going to put you in with an investment person, face
Yep.
to face, and that's how we're going to deploy it. And we think it's a better service to our customers. But as far as do we have any ROI on it, we're getting there.
Mm.
I mean, I can just in training alone, we're saving because I'm only
Yeah.
training a select few people. And somebody on the call might say, well, they bought it in February. Why don't they have it at all the branches? Well, there's select branches that we're rolling it out in. And the reason we're doing that is we rolled it out in the first 14 branches of the acquisition. And then we're following up with other branches. We just can't onboard all the branches at one time because the back office staff are the video banker staff, team members. How many do we need? We
Right.
don't know. And if
Yeah.
we can't have someone sitting in one of our branches and waiting 14 minutes to get one. So we are being very methodical about the way we are rolling it out. And then it takes training. I mean, we train the video bankers, but we have to train the branch as well. And those team members are what to say. We just don't want them to come in and say, well, go in that office over there, they'll help you. No, that's not the customer service we want. And that takes training and that takes time.
Yeah. But executing correctly on training and taking time also leads to a successful strategy in my mind. And I
I
don't think
agree.
there's anything wrong with that. I think that we've seen the clients we've worked with over the last 5 or 6 years be the most successful if they've had a phased in approach and they've kind of done it in waves. And that might be by region, it may be by module, so online and digital versus in branch. But it also could be by department, as you've described. And we've seen it all. And I think that coming at it from that same perspective that you just articulated is a recipe for success because it allows you to have quality controls in place. And I think that's extremely important. I think it's extremely important. What's next? If you're willing to share a little bit about the playbook that you're operating out of at Southern Bank, and I'm not telling you to give up any trade secrets or competitive secrets here, but what are you looking at for the next chapter? What are you looking at for the next 12, 24, 36 months when it comes to innovation or just the evolution of what Southern Bank is doing to serve the customer?
Well, I can tell you a little bit. I guess we're not going to be the Jetsons. I don't think we're at the Jetson level. That dates me a little bit for anybody that doesn't know the
I
Jetsons.
know. I was going to say thank you for throwing a Jetsons reference out. I love that. Yeah. Right now, my team is probably over here googling what that
But the
means. But
Jetsons
that's
are,
okay. They'll
well,
figure
for
that
anybody
out.
that doesn't know, that was a cartoon a long time ago that used to fly around. But anyway, I don't think we're
Mm-hmm.
there. I think in the next 24, 36 months, digital is key. I think video banking and any of that digital transformation, moving things quicker is key to what we're doing. I think we as a bank want to move from being great to the best. And to do that,
Mm.
we have to look at the products that we have and the services we have and how we do both. Robotic processing, big, big part of the next 2 years, using that. Um, Different communication pieces to our customers. How do we communicate with them? I think chatbots, AI, definitely where it's going to be in
Yeah.
the coming years. We are using chatbot AI right now. You can go talk to Butler, see if your question gets answered. But we're developing that piece. It's not where we
Mm-hmm.
want it today, and that's going to be a continuation. But I think that's where it is. It is all those type of things. Again, I think people want to bank 24/7. Yeah, going back to the reference before, if they're sitting at home, you know, drinking their milk and eating cookies or eating ice cream, whatever, and they want to know how to put a stop payment on. Well, we're not open. Our resource center, not open. So how are they going to get to know it? They need to be able to get their answer. Well, we have the answer through chatbot. And then being able to take that chatbot into, hey, I'm going to come in tomorrow to sign the paper or send me the digital documentation for stop payment. That all has to be there because that's what they're going to want to do. We have to operate more like Amazon, but in the regulatory rules and with cybersecurity in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's great. It's hard to believe we've almost come to the end here, Kim. You have survived and thrived all the way through. And so I think one of the things I would like to do is open it up to you. Share anything that you might want to share about Southern Bank, about your individual perspectives and ideas about the industry and just banking in general. As well as I like to always end with this is like if you were to say in a snapshot what makes Southern Bank special, what you guys are doing uniquely in the markets you serve, what would that be?
There's a multitude of things, but I think our team members really make us stand out. Their heart is in it. Their heart is with the customer. They're there for them. I think the other thing is, I think at Southern Bank, again, going back to the conversation before, we're not standing still. We're not stalled. We know we have to make movements into the technology realm and more into the digital realm. We know there's other avenues our bankers have to look at and foresee how that's going to come to fruition. But, big challenge is the fintech. And we want to service our team. We want to service our customers. We want to service our community. And I think we are no different in that avenue than most banks. We're not just here to make a dollar. We're here to make our communities thrive. And that's what we want to do. If you ask me where I think banking is going, I think that we answered that kind of question before. I think it's going to be tough. I think net interest margin is, for the next 18 months, still going to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
Non-interest income regulators coming in for overdrafts. The new Durbin may come out, amendment that says that they've got to look at POS income. I think that's going to go down. So where are we going to make our non-interest income? I think those are all challenges. And it's not doom and gloom because you know what? Everybody needs money. Everybody needs a debit card. So everybody needs a loan. Everybody needs a business account. Invo can't survive without a business account, startup capital, or whatever you might need, and we're here to serve. Because it's people, and I'm not getting paid to this. I want everybody to know that I'm not getting paid, but it is people like Invo that makes banking life a lot easier. It's the partnerships that we develop, and that's a true statement.
That's good. I love that. I don't want to ask any more questions after you end with that. That's what the kids call a mic drop right there, I've been told. There was no mic drops during the Jetsons time period, which is definitely more close to my heart than anything else, but I love that. Kim, you've been so gracious with your time. I have thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to sit down with you today. I can already tell you we're going to be getting so much good feedback and additional questions. And so I would encourage anyone that is interested more about what's going on at Southern Bank to go check them out online, check out their digital footprint on web, go follow Southern Bank on LinkedIn. You could also connect with Kim on LinkedIn as well. A lot of good information going on in that area. But for more information, Kim, I'm going to channel everyone directly to you, and so they can reach out to you with questions. I know that you've offered your opportunity to be available, so thank you for that. Kim, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah. You have a great day as well. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.